In this video, we'll discuss the last major topic of the first key area of cell division differentiation, which is all about cancer. Okay. There's over 200 different types of specialised cells, therefore, there's over 200 different types of cancers that can happen in any specialised cell type, and they're all characterised by uncontrolled mitosis. So the two main ways to break this topic down even further start by thinking about how the cancers initially develop and then how they can go on to form secondary tumours somewhere else in the body. So, what happens is due to mutations, the signals that are supposed to tell cells to stop doing mitosis are lost. So, what happens? The cells keep dividing, and this results in this mass of abnormal cells, which we refer to as a tumour. So these cells will continue to divide excessively, which means tumours will continue to grow, risking some of the cells failing to attach onto that original tumour. So cancers can spread because some of those cells fail to attach, get swept up in the bloodstream, and then are deposited elsewhere. From there, they continue to divide uncontrollably and start to form these secondary tumours in secondary locations. So let's try then some past paper questions. So this one, pretty open to talk about both how they develop and how they spread. So describe how cancer can develop and spread through the body. Pause the video and then come back later for the answer. Okay, so few different ways that you could word this. Start by talking about the development, the loss of those regulatory signals. So you can say they're dividing excessively, and this leads to a mass of abnormal cells or the tumour. You've got to link those two things together. You don't need to use that exact wording. They'll also accept replicate, multiply, but not reproduce on their own. They're not reproducing, they're dividing. Again, they would accept rapidly, uncontrollably, so long as your answer indicates that this is more than what is normal. Okay. So they're dividing excessively, and this is what leads to the tumour. Okay. Because they're not responding to regulatory signals, and thus cells can fail to attach to each other, attach to the tumour. Okay, so that's the development part of the question. Talked about the spread is when they fail to attach and then spread, they form those secondary tumours. So that is underlined, a really important term for you. Or you could use the term undergo metastasis. Metastasis is the scientific term for that spreading of these abnormal cells through the bloodstream. Okay. So lots of different options there for your 3 marks. Let's try it presented in a slightly different way. So this time you've got a diagram which shows you some stages of development of blood cells. So you've got a tissue stem cell becoming cell P, which is then differentiating into blood cells. So linked to some of the previous topic as well. So part A is to name process X as shown on the diagram. And then part D was to describe how a tumour might develop from your cell P. So use the diagram to answer the question, pause, and then restart to get the answer. So the first part, which was to identify process X. So again, have a quick look back at the diagram here. So you're going from a tissue stem cell to this cell that can ultimately specialise into the blood cell. Okay. So what we're talking about here is mitosis. Okay. You can't use cell division because you had to specify it as mitosis cell divisions to generic that could also include meiosis. So we're just making more copies of these stem cells before they specialise. So it had to be mitosis. And the second part was back to looking at cancer and how it develops. So describe how a tumour might develop from cell P. Well, it's got to be about that excessive division. Okay. It's unregulated, it's uncontrolled. Okay. Or they're not responding to those regulatory signals, which is what's leading to this uncontrolled division. Okay. And some similar points in the marking scheme as the previous question. So again, different ways you can phrase this about the replicating or multiplying, but avoid that term reproduction. You're not reproducing, you're just making replicas, these copies. Okay. Except uncontrollably for excessively, just that idea that it's not normal. Okay. In this case, you could use mitosis in place of cell division because mitosis is a specific type of cell division that is going awry in cancer. So I hope you've got a much better understanding now of that first key area. And do please get in touch with any questions or anything that's still unclear.